It is Autogefühl wishlist time because you guys wanted to see the Mercedes CLA Coupé, and I brought you a really special one, the Mercedes-AMG CLA 45 Coupé. So the top sports version here. But in this review on the exterior, interior and the driving experience, you will get to know everything you need to know about a general CLA Coupé and in specific then the AMG version. Here on Autogefühl, your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews and your #1 community to discuss cars. Today with Thomas. And we're bringing all of that in full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go! Sneak preview of the performance, launch control. I'm in the race mode, then holding both pedals. Now we can brake, both pedals, then here, this one, race start, and let's go. That is already 120, that was, whoa, that went pretty quick. Did anyone count? The 4.2 seconds are the official figure to 100 kilometers. What was it does? Put it in the comments. It's always nice to compare it. But wow, that went pretty quick. However, I mean, we got the all-wheel drive here. The car is usually front plus rear, the all-wheel drive, but so much torque is then directed to the rear wheels when you use the launch control, and that there's no, we're not really burning rubber on the ground because then we would lose traction. So great traction off the start, power from both axles. You really feel that it's quite harmonic, but so smooth and so fast at the same time. And well, this is a figure which can really keep up with all the biggest sports cars as well. Don't you think so as well? So that's a sneak preview to the performance, and later in the driving part, we will show you some more everyday driving life, and of course even more of the performance of this AMG version here, the CLA 45. Not so long ago there was a slight facelift which changed the front just a little bit here for all CLA versions. In the AMG you have a very strong lower part with the bumper contrast colors to the silver Magno color we have today here on our test vehicle, and really strong air intakes. Also LED lights as equipped right here now are optionally available since the facelift, and they are also put in right there, offer you a good vision, but then of course are really more expensive, also optional for the AMG version still. And you can see it here that the front hood is not continued over to the very front part, separated here, and this makes up for a special AMG design. We've seen it, for example, also at the C63, that the hood is covered all around and creates a very special look. However, I usually prefer when the hood goes all the way to the front. The AMG grille here also in the sporty comp design, then with two horizontal fins, but there also the car sits a little bit lower, of course. 4.64 m or 15'2" is the total length of this vehicle, and you might say, wait a minute, it's not too far from the Mercedes C-Class. Also pricing wise, well, with 30,000 euros entry price, the CLA, at least in Germany, is not too far away from the C-Class. 57,000 then for the AMG version here. And you can really think about what is the other real differences. Well, 2-liter engines here for the petrol runs, for the AMG also. 3-liter, for example, also possible with the C-Class or even above that. Then the C-Class, rear driven, all-wheel drive plus front. Here, the all-wheel drive is front plus rear. So those are the main differences. This one here more appealing to a younger target group as well. And we'll drive the car and then talk more about differences, this one here and the C-Class. Then 16-inch alloys starts the CLA, goes up to 18-inch in the sportier versions, then the 19-inch optional for the AMG, so comes with 18 the AMG, then 19 as we see it right here, the optional. Also got the 4MATIC logo right here, got with the all-wheel drive, and also the AMG version, you can see it right here with a contrasting lower bumper, also contrasting mirror cap. And in general, this car is so sensual in the design. Look at that, the design line here below the door handles, dividing in light and shadow. Another design line right here, and then this Coupé line. Of course, you can always argue, well, Coupé is just two-door. They say it's a four-door Coupé. I mean, it has the Coupé look, so I also don't mind when it's having four doors. And this may be also maybe a reason if you say you want a Coupé, but C-Class Coupé is two-door, and you say you really want four doors. That might be, for example, another reason. So I want to hear your comments on the design of the CLA, because for some they say it's the most beautiful Mercedes there is at the moment. I mean, there are sports cars, maybe they are more beautiful, but from the normal cars, some say I can understand it. I'm not exactly sure if it's my design favorite, but I can really say the designers were allowed to play around with the design, and I really like that they have an open way to do a lot of central elements also here with the strong shoulders, for example. So what do you think? Give me your comments. And now to the rear, which is really defined by those floating tail lights. So again, you know, it is something different for sure, but I mean, I think it's good if one model stands a little bit out from the rest of the design. Here, also in the rear, you can see the biggest changes to the sporty version, to the AMG. For example, here you got those spoiler lip and also the massive diffuser and the exhaust pipe. Yeah, I mean, the outer part, they are still just for design. The real exhausts are hidden again, and there's a big discussion always going on. I mean, it looks more aligned like this, and designers like to do it. Then there are others say, yeah, you know, I really want to see the real exhaust pipe. I'm not sure. What do you think? So while we hear some kart racing in the background, we take a look at the engines. You basically get a 1.5 liter or 2.2 liter diesel, or 1.6 petrol, or this one here, the 2 liter petrol engine. Here tuned to 381 horsepower. Oh, sorry, AMG does not like to hear the word tuning, because they're of course manufacturing the engines themselves. Here also greetings to Tobias Vetter. He handcrafted this engine. I think we had an engine from him in an AMG car before, because there's still the concept one man, one engine at the true AMG engines. So 381 horsepower, and acceleration figure to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour is 4.2 seconds, and that is incredibly fast. Of course, great to have such a performance out of a relatively small engine. This is, for example, also then the difference to the C-Class. There you can also get bigger displacement engines, for example, but I can already promise you this one will have a massive performance. You have already seen it in the launch control right at the start. Standard A or B class key, just the AMG has special AMG logo right here. Then the CLA Coupé, as you can see, it's the Coupé that has those frameless mirrors around there. And then got a lot of contrast stitches here, and this is all from Artico, so it's leatherette. And then Alcantara, so great surface setup here already at the inside of the doors. The seat control is right there. There you can adjust the seat. There's also a common Mercedes solution, for example. Then if we take a look at the interior, great sporty setup. In general, that's very interesting what we get here for the A-Class in general, for CLA, A-Class and GLA. Because with the seats, you have one with separated head restraints, the standard seats. Then there are sport seats, which come, for example, with the Sport or AMG line and true AMG versions. And they already feature the Dynamica on the inside, microfiber, and leatherette, Artico or Ambitex, so-called, at the outside. Great sustainable option. Those ones here, however, are the second option with the integrated head restraint. So again, standard seat, separated head restraint. Sport seat, integrated head restraint, like here, but a little bit thicker. And those ones here are the sports performance seats. They are thinner, have even more side support, but of course a little bit less comfort. But the same seat surface setup. And in general also for the CLA, I can get inside now, you can get a lot of different setups for the seats. For example, you have 3 Artico or Ambitex versions, so 3 leatherette, black, beige, and brown, and also you get a fabric leatherette mix for the normal variants. For example, for this urban line in the other trim levels. So they don't come, they come with a lot of marketing messages. Usually Mercedes, we are best at this, but they don't really push forward that they're at the moment the best in offering sustainable seat surfaces in a high trim level and in a variety of choice. They, I'm not sure why they're not publishing that, but at least we can tell you. And the sporty versions here, as we said, with the microfiber on the inside, so that's really good. And the same is also counting for the steering wheel. Well, not exactly the same. 2 variants of the steering wheel available. This one here, Alcantara on the side. And in the whole car you see here, those parts are the only that come from Animal. Just the steering wheel. Everything else, leatherette, it is more durable and still looks good, also soft. You won't really realize the difference. But you can also, this is my tip, get the whole steering wheel as an option in the microfiber. So not only the sides, so the whole one. That is then how I would actually pick it. And one characteristic feature are also those very attractive air vents. That's open, closed, open, closed, Homer Simpson style, Here in the AMG version also with a contrast. The AMG line, by the way, looks outside and inside pretty similar. So if you just want the styling, not the most powerful engine, you can also go for the AMG line or Sport called in the US. Headroom here, I got the seat very low. I'm 1.86 m or 6'1". Still leaves me some space, just not when I'm coming closer to the sides. There's enough room for tall adults here. Difference to the C-Class is the C-Class does offer a little bit more room as I definitely feel it. So I would maybe, if you're very tall, maybe a C-Class is better than for you than this A-Class platform where A-Class, B-Class, GLA, CLA Coupé and CLA Shooting Brake all sit on. Instruments, nice startup here with the arrows that they go all the way, and in the middle part you have a small digital screen, and for example for the digital speedometer, for example also range, consumption stuff. Well, that is after using launch control. You can score lower consumptions definitely. However, you can also have, for example, a special AMG. There we go, here we are, and in the special AMG display you can then check the oil and coolant temperature, for example, right there, or also have a lap timer. Then the cockpit overview, what is really my favorite, they also use the Alcantara here, where usually normal A-Class, CLA and so on have some hard elements. So this really makes up a cozy, sporty living room at the same time. Then you can already see here, we got the Apple CarPlay mounted, soon more to the details of this display, but you can see this when you connect the phone via cable with the smartphone mirroring function. In general, I mean, it is a clean cockpit and a very sporty one. However, you see it's not the totally newest one because you can see still a lot of buttons here in the lower area. Some maybe like it, that they can type in telephone numbers directly, but I'm not sure. Maybe it's something also that can be getting rid of nowadays. I'm not sure. What do you think? And what I don't like in the A or B class platform cars, that the temperature unit is so way placed down, so sometimes you have to get used to it. I think you should do it blindly then. You cannot really look at it, because when you look so far down, it's maybe even dangerous. So I guess the best thing is you just get used to it and you feel it, and that's it. Building quality, by the way, is generally good, as we know it from Mercedes. 12-volt power supplies in the lower part too. But the C-Class is something else. You have to admit that. So we get a lot of great elements, but C-Class is something more, definitely. The steering wheel is really my favorite, even if it would be better when it's whole. The whole Alcantara cover. Generally, you can really say a lot of great design elements. For example, the vents, or also with the contrast stitches, red contrast stitches all over the place, and then the article, the leather red cover, which makes a high class impression. So overall, I think you get a lot definitely already in the base Mercedes. Then again, if you pay a little bit more money, you can also expect something more in the C-Class. So if you want to go back to the Mercedes infotainment system, either just deconnect your phone or pick here the Mercedes Star, because the thing is, when you're in the Apple CarPlay mode and then hit the GPS button at the middle console, then you get to the Apple CarPlay GPS, for example, which you can argue is good, but at the other hand, I more prefer to use the in-car GPS and then connect my phone via Bluetooth, for example. What I find quite nice is that we have those dynamic selects, where we also have the engine data, and then you can see the performance of the car, for example, when it's running. That is, always a nice feature. Everything else is a standard Mercedes infotainment system where you cannot use touch screen. You control everything basically with the shortcuts or with the main shifting lever, and then I will deconnect the phone now that we go to the normal GPS map, and there it is. And reaction is actually quite good. It was also a good overview here, the GPS. So overall, I think we're quite fine here at the Hungaroring today. Then you can choose the different options like radio and media and stuff, and here connect via your phone via Bluetooth, for example. The screen, by the way, the optional 8-inch now, was updated in the facelift. It is flatter now and bigger. And this one, of course, the optional screen. Then usually you can also get a little more, just like this then, approximately. So this will also do just fine. Of course, if you want to spend more money, get the command system too. It looks maybe better, but again, it's also a little bit attached, in the whole interior. You also get the special AMG automatic shifting lever here, either 6-speed manual or 7-speed DCT, as we have here right now. You just pull it backwards to the D mode, and then this is here the drive selector, Comfort, Sport, Sport Plus, and Race mode. Changes the characteristics of steering, throttle input, shifting mechanism, especially if you have the automatic gearbox. And then similar to this one is also the one for the infotainment system, this turning and pressing knob and going back, so you can control everything from the infotainment system right here. And the middle build quality, I would say this is one of the very few parts. It's just hard plastic here. I can understand it if it's the way in the base A-Class, but then again, the base A-Class or base CLA is already very expensive. They should put something more worthy here, especially then in the AMG. If I pay about almost 60,000 euros for a car, I don't want that, definitely. So a lot of great features they offer here. This is one flaw. And that's the beverage holder, also not with adaptive knobs here, for example, that they could improve too. Let's get in the rear, and to me, by the way, very interesting here, the frameless windows also in the rear. To me, the Coupé looks so much better than the shooting brake of the CLA. But then again, well, headroom-wise, well, with 1 meters 86 or 6'1", I do exactly fit in here, but I can, I'm already hitting my head at the ceiling, so you shouldn't be 119 meters or 6'2". Knee room-wise, it does fit. I'm not exactly sure. I mean, those are the performance seats now. it will be a little bit different than if you have other seats. Also, when the seat is in the very lowest position, it's hard to put your feet under the seat. It does still work, but it's coming really close. You have to squish them in there. So, I mean, it's not exactly, for long travel with 4 adults. 4 adults do work if they're not that tall. Then again, also the C-Class offers a little bit more room there in the rear. That is for sure also one of the differences. And especially if you want to keep with this very car, then go for the shooting brake, especially for more headroom. What I find very interesting here in the rear, and even more beautiful in front, look at the structure here of the Dinamica, of the microfiber surface here in the rear. Sometimes we find the same visual aspect here in the rear, but here it's a little bit different. I think it's even more beautiful here with with this special design here, and it also feels very interesting, really great. What else do we have here? We have 12-volt power supply in the rear, and let's see if we can flip out. Doesn't look like it. Oh, that's strange. Okay. So it's pretty unusual that we cannot flip something out here. Just the head restraint. There's no middle armrest. Okay. That happened. But we can flip the seats from here already. So I can show you that. Like this. And we have a 1/3 2-slot split. That's the way. Also top tether. And also ISOFIX anchor points are in the front, so for 2 child seats, easily available. And finally, the boot. Well, you cannot expect too much of a coupe or of a sedan, and yeah, maybe it's limited in the loading area right here. I mean, there's enough room actually for a lot of suitcases going to the airport or something like that, because it goes quite deep in there and also is relatively wide. So I think for such a car is a relatively good result. Of course, with the shooting brake version you can have a better result overall, and below the cover you can either have some more room or then also optionally fit a spare tire if you go for it in the option list. Now to the driving part, and we start on a motorway here in Hungary. Of course, this is a very good motorway car already, and especially in the AMG version. So that brings us also to the sport mode, why not? We got the sport mode also in the display. Blocks, of course, the GPS view for a little while. The sport mode increases the throttle input, and also car is shifting up later and shifting down earlier. No, wait a minute. I think it's the next one. Yeah. Then we also got a better sound already. Of course, if you're someone who really likes to drive a car, then getting on and off the motorway is always a lot of fun. Then you can really push the car into a corner, and wow, really performing well on the road. So easy to handle. Steering wheel is pretty light also in the sport mode, but does not feel unnatural at all. You see also the steering angle is pretty well accorded to the angle of the corner. Now in the sport mode the car shifts down earlier, you maybe heard it as soon as I apply the throttle. I think quite a good sound here already on the inside. We can race this Toyota Prius taxi in front of us. We can also go to the Sport Plus mode. That would be even more extreme then, so even goes further down in the gears. Also the exhaust button can be activated just solely. So let's go down here and see if we can push it forward a little bit. But of course, also as you're driving this car in everyday life, that was the dead spot, blind spot warner. So we got the red triangle then in the side mirrors, and also when I'm hitting the turning indicators at the same time, the car, oh, he really wants to change the lane, then the car is giving me also an acoustic warning. So it's a very good system, and also one of those features you should go for. The AEB, the autonomous emergency brake for the city, that is already included in every A-Class platform. It's a very good decision they took there. We did a special on that one when we did, I think, the B-Class, also same platform. So that's a very good decision, definitely. Really got a good grip on the steering wheel. Here also, I mean, when you do some slalom at the 100, just a little bit, it feels like nothing really in this car. Also, sound insulation wise, I think they've done a good job. I think it is a little bit better in the C-Class, and that's also, you know, we talked about difference CLA and C-Class, and the thing is, the C-Class feels a little bit more sovereign in driving. This one here feels a little bit more agile. So although the length does not vary that much, here you sit a little bit higher, let's take it that way. You feel that the lines of the car everywhere are going a little bit tighter, and so you feel like you're in a smaller car than in a C-Class. It is the case, but even if it's not the big difference, you feel it would be a bigger difference actually. That this car is front-wheel drive, basically, you don't feel, because here in the AMG version we have also the all-wheel drive, so that's not much of a difference. And now we could, for example, hammer the throttle. Let's see. Nice. And of course we can also use the shifting pedals. Manual here. Also heard this plop when we go with the shifting, and this is the dual clutch transmission they have mounted in here, DCT they just call it. Also, you know, a good abbreviation for that for sure. And in the AMG model, this is specially tuned then for the sporty purposes, and you do feel that, especially when you're in the Sport Plus mode, which you shouldn't go when it's slippery outside, because also the ESP, the electronic stability program, is drawn back then, so leave that for very dry conditions. Also, when I'm going from sport to comfort mode again, now with the facelift, it does change something with the suspension, because there are two oil valves in there, so it's the spring and then, you know, the oil system in there, and there are two valves and they can open or close, and then decide how much resistance there is from the oil part of the damper, and this can make it a little bit stiffer or a little bit more comfortable. The difference, however, is minor, so you really have to concentrate to feel the difference in the suspension. So you wouldn't really guess if you just start in this car and someone said, oh, this is a good 6-cylinder car, sound-wise and also performance-wise. I mean, 4.2 seconds to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour, come on. That's even half a second faster than, for example, in Golf R. And yes, also the same 2-liter engine in here. So no V6, no V8 whatsoever. Although we got so much horsepower and so much performance, this does actually work. You know, I'm usually a guy, I'm also in favor of right sizing, not exactly downsizing. So I rather would pick an engine that is bigger from displacement but less in horsepower, also that doesn't stress the engine that much. But what we can definitely say is this 2-liter turbo engine is giving hell a lot of performance for us here. And well, look at that, every lane change is so much fun to drive in this car. So, wow, great agile performance. Well, again, you can also cruise on the Autobahn, so setting, for example, the Distronic Plus, or also Distance Pilot, or however you want to call it, and set a separate lever here. And then you can just keep the distance to the car in front of you. And this is one of the most reliable systems of that kind that I know. We also deactivate it because we're going off the motorway. So already had a lot of fun here. And now let's get off in a fast way. And this car does not feel that it would work so much because it's so easy to handle. A good balance for sure. I'm just cruising it basically with 100. Often it doesn't feel fast at all. So, the good handling, the great suspension, good sound insulation, that all accounts for that the car is not feeling that it would work too much. And here, when you're in a comfort mode, you can also drive it pretty silently. So, when you think about parking your car in a neighborhood, starting very early in the morning or coming home very late in the evening, something like that, it's actually no problem. So you don't have to wake up all your neighbors. But as soon as you want to get it going, keep the party rolling, then just go into sport mode and then up we go. So the special sports performance seats we've talked about earlier, it's always, as I said, better to go for a little bit thicker, more comfortable seats if you're interested in long-term riding fun. But for such performance seats, they perform also quite good in the comfort, and again, as I said earlier, very good from the seat surfaces. Also, when we're doing some more agile riding part, it was very, very good to have the grip on the seats. And the most extreme one I experienced lately in the Golf R on the racetrack, because I had really good comparison there between one car with animal skin surface inside on the seats and one with the microfiber, with the Alcantara seats, and which are called the Dinamica here at Mercedes, by the way. Alcantara and Dinamica, two brands from microfiber seats. And they really felt that on the racetrack especially, you slide around on the animal skin, because it's, would be the same basically with full leatherette seats, by the way. You slide around. And here you really got good grip, and that, for example, takes care of your knees, for example, because your knees would then just touch the middle tunnel all the time. So I think with this vehicle they achieved something to have a very good compromise still. So you don't have the top sports version where you can say, I can't ride this car in normal everyday driving life anymore. So because we have some sports cars which are, perform very well, but then you say, I can really throw away my spine after riding that car. But here it's still possible, suspension and also seat-wise and just from the general driving characteristics. And you have this very beautiful, sensual exterior. At the same time, if you want to have it more aggressive, you just go to the driving mode selector. This one, by the way, now this is the warning for the city emergency brake. So I took the brake over myself, but if I haven't been doing that, the car would even have stopped me. And this is also, very good to know that, in an emergency situation, the car can still help you. Let me just, I'm reading a comment where saying, I really don't like this Autogefühl review episode, and then I'm suddenly getting a heart attack because of reading this comment. Of course, someone else hold me the phone. And I'm having a heart attack, and then I cannot brake, something like that. But then the car could still do it for me. Or maybe you're distracted by, whatever you see outside. And that can always happen. No one who's driving a car will really say that he or she was not ever distracted. That does happen, just. So when we use this coming to a stop here to accelerate a little bit, also to entertain everyone around us. Well, some people do like it, some not. Sometimes you get thumbs up, great sports car, and sometimes you don't get the thumb, but the other finger. What they're doing here with the car. So that happens. That happens too, and I can understand. When people don't want to be annoyed by an exhaust sound. For us, when we're driving the car, it sounds great. It's good performance, but who knows? Whoever wants, especially living here somewhere in the rural area, who wants to hear that? But of course, we can reserve that really hammering, for example, also always for racetracks and stuff. So we're getting slowly to the countryside, and I hope we can slam around the car even better then. Overview, by the way, in this coupe version, okay, it is somewhat limited to the rear, but not that bad as I would have expected. I mean, to the rear, as the car is falling down pretty fast from the side roof line, that is also a little bit limiting there. So you have to be aware of that. But A-pillar, B-pillar, yeah, B-pillar also pretty thick. So it is not the best car as for the visibility, that's for sure. But basically you get along fine. So we can show you some more acceleration stuff here, for example, when I decelerate just a little bit. And for example, what about when you go from 50 kilometers to 90, Sport Plus mode, I'm hammering it, let's go. That's 100 already. Then on the brakes again, that's also important. As this car is not too heavy, it's also very good, well performing then when going on the brakes. Here again in the corners, this car is so much fun to corner it. Again, difference to a C-Class, it feels a little bit more agile, a little bit more compact. The C-Class feels more evolved. I think the C-Class offers a little bit more comfort also in the AMG versions for taller people. So I would generally say if you want something more agile, young, fresh, and you're not too tall, probably would go for this one. And if you want it a little bit more settled, and maybe you're also quite tall and also appreciate sporty as yet, but a little bit more emphasis on comfort, then probably the C-Class is then the better decision driving-wise. When I think about an AMG hatch in the A-Class, and then compare it to this one here, they're actually pretty similar while driving. You know, when you're sitting inside, you don't really feel so much what's behind you. Now, obviously, we came to a halt. There's a train coming. So I'd say we see you soon when the train is passed. You still running? All right, we can go on. Wow, what cars are driving here? Daewoo. That's not been available for a century in the rest of Europe. Interesting. We try to clear it as fast as possible, and we can show you some more of an agile driving. It's a little bit too close. Always safety first here, of course. Oh, I realized, by the way, that the great red contrast stitches, they have a little bit of reflections in the front screen. So I can also use the shifting pedal to see if I got a clear vision to the front. That happened. Whoa. Yeah, I mean, in a way it is also safer to overtake if you have more power, because you just have a shorter overtaking way. And that car can get pretty aggressive. And I think this is also one of the characteristic features. You can really have it from very calm, very decent to, you know, really aggressive, and also sound-wise. I mean, we really have everything in there. We have totally calm, you hardly hear the car, and then also absolutely hammering it. Consumption, by the way, okay, we did some throttle hammering now, but so far about 11 liters of the consumption. So in general, those 2-liter turbo engines, you can also drive them below 10 liters, but you really have to be calm then in driving. So it gets even a little bit nicer here now in riding. It's always nice to use the real metal shifting pedals, because you feel so much more in control. I mean, I like automatic gearboxes, and especially in corners, when you're shifting in corners, that can be a little bit annoying that you have to hold the steering wheel with one hand. Also a little bit about safety. But then if you have the automatic transmission and then you use shifting pedals, just you feel so much, you know, like in the Formula 1 car. And then it always gives you, you know, joy that you see you do something and then something happens, you know. And I think it's something human just to feel this effect. You know, you do something and feel something happening. Like this, for example. You know, always when you just click it with your finger, just click, you have the direct effect from the exhaust and says, boop. So you get an answer, basically, you know? You get the input and then you get the answer. Right? So maybe it's a question like, do you want to shift? Yes, I do. Also, when you put this car in a lower gear, for example, and then hit the brakes, then you have this blubbering from the exhaust. Oh, by the way, let's see, because we can also put in the performance stuff here on the display. Let's see, engine data. We can also check out horsepower output, for example. Not sure why the maybe because I crossed the line there, crossed the white line a little bit. That's maybe the car was complaining about. Wow. Can just stress again, superb in the driving handling. So although it is a compact car, and it feels indeed so compact and easy to ride, from the sovereignty again, it feels like it would be a bigger car. So, and yeah, I think that's also main key also in comparison to the competitors. If you compare this one, by the way, to an Audi RS3 or S3, I think Mercedes, suspension-wise, offers a little bit more comfort. Of course, there are a lot of great hot hatches in this segment. Oh, look, 80, 90 this corner here, and no problem for this car. So yeah, it's definitely totally a fun machine, and I can understand it because this car has really a fresh and young approach, and this is just again proven by the driving feeling we have here. So I think for a performance car, you don't need to go any bigger actually. So you can also just say, you know, on purpose you go for a smaller car. That could also be an argument to have the more agile driving fun. And you know, at some point you maybe also want to use the car for parking somewhere in front of your house, and there's also an advantage if the car is not too big actually. And again, I'm also surprised that you can still ride this car in the Sport Plus mode without being, you know, exaggerating too much. So that's still working. In some cars where we have those driving modes, you feel like, yeah, you know, when I'm driving the car in a normal way, I have to stay in comfort mode, because otherwise it would be really annoying all the time. But here, you can have fun in the Sport Plus mode and still stay in it. It's not too bad actually. Oh, old Trabant, Eastern Germany car who's passing us. So obviously some of those exist here still. Very interesting. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this. We had a lot of sporty fun, but also gave you a lot of hints for your everyday driving here. Really satisfied with the steering, great performance, suspension, also good compromise of sport and comfort. You have some choices here, definitely. There's also, by the way, the race mode. That one is not for the street because the ESP's drawn back even more. So we just want to mention that it exists, but usually the sports mode are way enough here for the city. Yeah, I think gave a lot of comparisons also to the other segments and to the other cars. Hope you enjoyed it. And now the conclusion for today: Mercedes CLA Coupé and in special the Mercedes-AMG CLA 45. So what about this car? It's so central on the exterior, and I think it's really joyful. I really like it because it's also so different from the other Mercedes model. It's more daring, and I like it when the car is more daring, wants to do something more. And especially in the Coupé variant, of course, you know, the other one, the shooting brake, would be more handy, but I don't really like the shooting brake so much from design, I have to say. so I would rather go with this one. The interior, general, very well processed. There are some parts which would need some tweaking considering the money you pay for the car. However, they are leading especially, as a brand, and also here especially in the A-Class, B-Class, GLA, CLA and so on. From the seat surfaces, they give you so much choice, which is great in quality and at the same time, from a sustainable surface material. So great choice there, especially also here in the AMG lines or in the true AMG version. The performance seats I would not recommend. Those ones are optional. Just stay with the normal sport seats. They offer you more long-term comfort. That would be very important for me. Other than that, driving part, it's so much fun to drive this car. Such a great performance already from this small engine. So that was really impressive for sure. Great sound too. And it was so much fun just to drive this very agile, compact car. At the end of the day, just maybe the question remains, why not go for Mercedes C-Class, considering the price you pay for this car? So let's discuss that in the comments. Would you go for a CLA Coupé, or would you rather already consider a C-Class or maybe a C-Class Coupé? There's some price difference still yet, but the question is, does it really matter that much? Let's discuss this in the comments, and in general, give me your feedback on the CLA and especially on the AMG CLA we had here today. Really enjoyed it today with you. I hope you did so too. Join us next time on Autogefühl.